Friends, colleagues and listeners, here we are. We've got another little podcast session and we're doing it live from Istanbul at the Aviation Connect conference. The person I've got with me, our guest, is Mohanned Badri, who's from Saudi Cargo, a friend and ex-colleague, and lovely to see you again, sir.
Likewise, Chris.
You having a good conference? You enjoying it?
Yes, so far so good.
Any highlights? Anything that stood out this time?
It's pretty similar to what's been going on in the past 2 years, the involvement of artificial intelligence and how is the business is going forward and how is the future of the air cargo will be changing in the next future and what's the challenges, what's being addressed, what's going to be addressed in the near future. I think we'll touch base on a few of these points during this podcast. So.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Great.
But it's a great turnout, isn't it?
Yes.
Huh?
Yeah.
Really good. So lovely to see old faces and yours as well. Not
Likewise.
that you're old at all in comparison to me, but nice to see you again. Now,
Likewise.
what I just want to ask, and so that anybody listening, your background. How did you get into operations?
All right. I guess that was 20 plus years ago. I started a part-time job while I was trying to go to college. And then I ended up falling in love with cargo like everyone else.
Yeah.
We started back then with Lufthansa. I had a great mentor, mutual friend. He's also a godfather for me.
Yeah.
Mr. John Spina.
Mr. John Spina, John
Yes.
Wayne of the cargo US team. Huh?
Oh, yes. He taught me everything about cargo, about ethics and how you move forward. I mean, he's been there throughout my whole career. Until this day, I'm in touch with him. Call him every now and then, and every new venture and so on, he's the first guy to call. So it was the Spina family as well. I mean,
yeah,
we had
Christine as well.
Christine as well, yeah. I was just over there actually December last year.
Yeah.
I was over their house. So
I've got to say they're two of the nicest people I think
Yeah.
I've ever met, and also two of the brightest cargo personalities
Absolutely.
I've also met as well, and both so different.
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely.
John so quiet, Christine not so quiet.
Yes.
And I don't think she'll mind me saying that. But I hope they're listening into this because we've both got a great fondness for them.
Yes.
Now, the fact that having mentors in the business, it's so important now, I think, because I get the feeling, and I'm as old Ned himself now, so I don't want to sound as if everything was better in my day, but it's so important to have a mentor now, I think, with the challenges that are there, because things like productivity, efficiency, this gap between digitization, automation, robotics, and as you said, AI.
Yeah.
People need somebody to look to or turn to, don't they? And I think they're becoming fewer and far between now.
Yeah, I think Chris, both of them and I, we come from a similar background when it comes to cargo, right? What you learn in classrooms and what you learn in trainings and college and things like that does not really prepare you for the real cargo life.
Yeah.
Having a mentor in the business is extremely important. They teach you like the on-job trainings, the coaching, how you develop, how you manage the business, how you lead people, how you improve processes and procedures and things like that. You need to have a mentor. Otherwise, you will not succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, you're one of the mentors I've worked with as well. I mean, John was in the beginning throughout my whole career, but I mean, later on, I got to meet you. I learned a lot from you as well, Chris.
Well, I really appreciate that. It's very nice of you. Now, what do you think now are the market dynamics that are going to change the way we have to approach business now moving forward, and especially in your role, having to deal with so many ground handling agents across the network?
Yeah, see, like post-COVID, the market is completely changing. I think prediction of market is not as traditional as it used to be. Predictions of growth, prediction of everything, it's changing rapidly, right? For example, if we touch base in e-commerce, nobody have seen e-commerce grow like this long time ago.
Yeah.
Now it's grown by double digit every single year.
Yeah.
If we take KSA, for example, our home market, right? It has grown 39% in the past 2 years. It's a massive growth. I think a lot of airlines are changing their strategies to adapt of the growth of the e-commerce and how is that impacting the business. With that being said, also there is another challenge with capacity. Now we know Boeing and Airbus are very slow in production and producing aircraft. The existing fleet in the marketing is shrinking, right? We still have the 747s flying around, the old beaters, the new aircraft that are not coming fast enough. Also on the passenger side, most airlines are moving into smaller fleet.
Yeah.
So they're replacing, for example, the 777 with the 787s, with the 350s, with the 330s and 321s. It's a better working model from the passenger side, which is creating challenge in the cargo side, right?
Exactly.
So now, with that being said, that means you need more freighters in the market, and there isn't any.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I tell you, like, especially in the Middle East region, the economy are growing much, much faster than the rest of the world. We have grown 34% last year, but we're still losing market share. So that's mean the demand is booming, and we do not have the capacity to meet that demand. I think that goes for everybody.
Yeah.
The Far East is growing like crazy, moving to Europe and so on. So it's really rapidly changing. And I think later on we can also touch of the interference of the AI of how to shape the market. The industry.
No, we'll definitely come to that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I'm really looking at, and I've been so interested in some of the projects I've been working on, is the challenges of productivity and efficiency.
Yes.
You know, and consistency is more important than perfection. And
Absolutely.
you know, having those dynamics being so pressured now, it's a tough outlook, I think, for the next 2 to 5 years.
It is.
And then what's worse is too many people are relying on digitization, automation, robotics, etc., as a compensation for that shortfall. But you've got to marry them both and have a nice balance, because at the end of the day, it's people that are going to still be the main components.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, before we dig deep into that, let's look at the aviation industry in general. It's not becoming very attractive for people to come in. Okay,
yes.
So in order for you to have efficient and productive operation, you need to have the skilled,
Yep.
the knowledgeable, the experienced people to do so.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to keep people, especially in the ground handling business. I mean, I've seen crazy numbers of turnovers in the ground handling. Not having the right skilled people, not having the right expert people in the field really goes against you having an efficient and productivity operation.
Yep.
On the other hand, the airlines are also pushing the ground handling to be more productive, more efficient, and more sustainable as well. So there's other drivers of the market that's coming in. Using the artificial intelligence to, for example, without mentioning who the handler is, but some of the handlers now are looking into AI to plan their man force.
Yep.
You know, to plan their shifts, to plan based on seasonalities, based on volumes, based on piece counts, volumes, and so on and so on. From the airline perspective, they're also looking at similar solutions to improve how they do business.
Yep.
For example, the booking, how to manage the capacity in the aircraft based on the season. Summers, you have more passengers, you have less cargo space. Changing of aircraft, you have less cargo space. Based on the temperature as well, it will also contribute to how much cargo you can carry, because the amount of fuel you're going to put in the aircraft. But I think moving forward, that's going to be the game changer for all ground handlers. How you run a productive operation, how you run an efficient operations, and how you work on your sustainability as well. I mean, when I started cargo 20 years ago, nobody talked about sustainability except for a few.
Yeah.
Now it's becoming a really hot topic, and governments are involved, civil aviations are involved. IATA is heavily trying to regulate how to work towards sustainability. And when we say sustainability, we're not only talking about carbon emission and so on. Also sustainability when it comes to the human factor aspects of it.
Yeah.
Yesterday we just attended the diversity lunch. You know, our business does not really have a lot of women in it. You know, now everybody's pushing to have more women join our industry. So
yeah, I think. I mean, and again, maybe it's because of my caveman thought process. But I just think the same thing with EVs. You know, governments and regulators and everybody was push. And now there's a little bit of a, it's like the tail of the alligator,
Yeah.
You see the head and you worry about it, and then you don't see the tail coming.
Exactly.
And now it's having an adverse effect, You look what's happening in Germany with VWs and the Chinese impact.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressures now, and people have got to be careful with over
True.
over enthusiasm for something that is being pushed.
And not only that, Chris. I mean, there's a push of moving to electrical GECs, ground service equipment, right?
But it should be slowly. It's slowly. You're not going to phase out or get rid of equipment that you spent, thousands of pounds on or thousands of dollars on. You're not going to do that. It needs to be progressive.
And it has to be like a process through it, right? So for example, if I'm switching my equipment to electrical, but the operation that you're in, the country you're in, or the city you're in, how are they generating electric? Is it from fuel, or is it solar panel, or is it windmills, and so on and so on? So you have to look at the whole value chain of just not like doing electrical in everything. In certain things it doesn't work. So it's a gradual change that people need to understand, and also like the plastics, the biodegradable plastic, the reusable plastic. I mean, there's things that we were doing in the past, and obviously the big giant and the big monster is the fuel. Right. So there is high investments in switching to SAF fuel and biofuel and so on and so on. Some handlers are actually now mixing biofuel with regular fuel to operate their equipment, because they know if they switch to electrical, they know the electrical source is not really green. And another challenge with this sustainability, everybody's making their own KPIs. So for example, in the cargo, we have Cargo IQ. It's standard for everybody. Everybody's using that with a little bit with their own KPIs and so on. For the sustainability, there's nothing. There's nothing. IATA is working heavily on having a standard of how they calculate these, but everybody's doing their own thing. So.
And like I said, I mean, I don't want to be too negative about it, but I think everything went full speed ahead without any precautions or wondering what was going to happen as a result, and everybody's gone crazy with it. But it will balance and it'll level out.
And now, I mean, from a science perspective, there's scientists that they're saying the planet is fine regardless with us or without us, whether we do something or we don't. There's always two sides of
always two sides to the coin. And then in many cases you can balance the coin standing up as well, so it's a different perspective. But again, now, from your overall network responsibility and communicating with GHAs, you must surely start to see the difficulties that are facing all of the service support suppliers with this productivity and with the attrition levels and with the level of experience. And then when you look at automation, everything, everybody says, we can do online training, we can do LMS, we can do it. A lot, I've got to say, and I'm sorry to say it if it offends anybody, but a lot of organisations are just doing regulatory tick box training on LMS. And even when you do it, you get it wrong the first time, it almost says, don't worry, give it another try, and we'll see if you can get it right next time, and then the third time. And then eventually when you go in, like you said, into the real world, it's so different. So different. So I think there's got to be a lot more competency-based practical performance checkouts. Not only just to be sure from a management perspective, but to give individuals the confidence that they are doing well, and get them to have, a sort of a new self-value. That's what I think is missing. When I talk to people and ask them questions, I say, "What do you think about it?" "Oh, you're not interested in I'm juster," and it's that I'm juster. I think what a terrible thing to say about yourself. As if nobody cares about your opinion or nobody cares about your input. And I think it's getting that back and encouraging people to feel part of something that's much bigger, much more value. I think it's so important.
I think Chris is also, I think we've talked about this before one of these conferences. There's also a generational gap. Right? So now you have Gen Z are entering the market. They're motivated by different sets of things that we are motivated by, for example. We're motivated by different things from your generation as well. So when the gap is 1 or 2 generations, I think people can adapt and know how to communicate with each other. I think what's really taking place right now, I mean, there's a huge gap. People are entering, they're not staying, they're leaving. So you either have like all the generation that's still there, they have the knowledge, they have the experience. Some of them resist change, some of them, I mean, like, if you bring somebody who's been in the industry for 35 years and you tell them that you need to start using AI and so on and so on, it's a new way of adaptation for them. Some can adapt and move with it, some they cannot. So having people with that generational gap working in the same place, trying to be mentored or motivated and so on, I think that's also part of the problem, Chris. It's our business is not sexy anymore.
I agree. I agree with you. And I also feel it's a shame. I know some people that obviously I've known for several years, and as they were coming to the end of their career, they started to be bitter,
Yes.
you know, mad and bitter. And then when you talk to them, you think, well, why? And they felt as if their value was just being dismissed, or like lemmings, they were next in the queue to be thrown over the cliff.
Yeah.
And I just think if you could tap, and not everybody, because some people are just going to be bitter and negative anyhow, but if you could tap the ones who wanted to pass on their experience genuinely,
Yes.
and then that goes into a pool, almost like a reservoir of experience and examples and competence, and then let the younger generation see that it's there to help them, not to tell them that it's right or wrong or they're not doing things differently. Because I've always felt, anyhow, you never take advice from somebody who says they've never done something wrong.
Of course.
Always take advice from people who've lived through things wrong and seen how it was recovered.
Yeah.
And then try and prevent it. But I think that's a balance that we need to do, you know, and it would be lovely as well, because
Definitely.
it will make people feel valued. And youngsters of today are going to be the older generation of the tomorrows. So they need to go through the same, you know, value experience.
And people like me are lingering between the older generation, the younger generation.
There you go. But it is important now, and it's all about. I think it's all about balance. And you know, we hear everybody talking about collaboration and sharing, but they don't actually do it. And I'm sorry to say, there's so much protectionism, and I don't want to give this away, and I don't want to tell people too much. I think that's a shame.
Yeah, and I think what's been working for us, we do succession planning, right? It's basically pairing a very young, upcoming, motivated employee with a very senior guy who has a lot of experience and things in the field. And then going back to your point earlier, who's willing to teach or to mentor or to coach, right? If you pair the two people together, the right two people together, I think it has.
It's a great. I totally
excellent
agree.
idea.
Totally agree. And there's nothing, I think, anyhow, if you're finishing in senior roles or whatever, there's nothing more valuable to yourself than to know that you're helping somebody else be better than they thought they ever could be, and then that they'll do the same, hopefully one day.
It's an enriching feeling, to be honest.
And I think it's few and far between now that people are having those feelings, and it's almost like, well, I'm coming near. It's almost like a sci-fi film, you know. I'm coming to the end of my belt. Whoop, there I go. I drop. Someone else gets on. Thinks the journey's going to be incredible, and then they suddenly fall off.
I mean, Chris, you have experienced this a lot, and I have started to experience that. I've seen potential in younger people, and I've pushed them to or mentored them, and then see them taking like a senior roles, and they're doing very well.
It's great, isn't it?
It makes you proud. Yeah. It makes you proud, and I know you have a lot of people under your belt that you have mentored and you've coached, and you've seen them grow to senior roles, and they're doing great.
And I think one guy who for me epitomises everything that I thought somebody should be, had the capability to be, and was humble as well, was Hassan Khan.
Yes, Hassan.
I mean, he's such a likeable, lovely, decent man.
Pure heart.
Yeah, but he's clever. He was always willing to learn, and he's one of the people that whenever I see anything on LinkedIn, I'm so pleased.
He's a pleasant person to have around. Honestly.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And what a multiplier of, you know, positive approaches and openness and even his smile. I remember I used to say things, and he'd just sit there and have this little smile. Do you know what I mean? And I knew what the smile was. The smile was, "Are you really sure, Chris?" But he never had to say it. Do you know what I mean? And then it'd make me think. But Hassan Khan, absolute diamond. Yeah. Good. Anyhow, listen, enjoy the rest of the conference. It's always lovely to see you, and it's great to share stories about the Spinas and the good old days in the States.
Oh yes, indeed.
And you've had a great career yourself, and long may it last. So good luck with everything. Thanks very much for joining us.
I know we've been trying to do this for a while now. Yeah. We finally got to do it in Istanbul.
No, but really, I wish you well.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much.
Appreciate it.